Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for downloading the Science Candy Game for the beginning of the year activities. If you have no idea what I'm talking about in Science Candy Game, I've linked your access to that free resource in the description below. So if you're interested in this, middle school science teachers, for your beginning of the year activities, go ahead and click on that link first so that you can get it. And you can get this free training with it, and I can walk you through how to use this game. All right, so when you download this resource, you will get a PDF, okay? And you'll open it up, and the first thing you'll see here, terms of use for the resource, but then you will also have a link to digital access. So you simply click on this link, and that will open up a Google Slides presentation that you can it'll open up a page that will force you to make a copy of a Google Slides presentation that you can then assign in Google Classroom to your students, and the students can type directly into the resource. So if you prefer the digital route, you have that option, or you can print this PDF and students can handwrite. All right, so true to Lit Science, this is differentiated and scaffolded. So the first version you will see is the version that has a little bit less support, and that's denoted here with this apple and the page number. So typically apples mean there's less support, and then here that the orange version has more support. And this is the version that I created with English learners in mind. Now, I know many of you teach in heterogeneous classrooms. I know that I did. So that first version could really be used for students who speak English as their first language, or even for your English learners who are a bit more advanced and maybe don't need this support here. Okay, so you know your students best, and you will choose which version to give to which students, all right? But I'm going to focus, for the sake of this training, I'm going to focus on this version here, the orange version here. Okay, so the first thing is you'll notice, and I want to walk you through some of the scaffolding strategies that are present here. So you'll notice these visuals, small visuals, that are embedded within the directions, right? So your newcomer students have some support in what you're asking them to do just in the directions. All right, so we're going to start out with some individual work. So without looking, students choose a piece of candy. It could be Skittles or M&Ms, anything with a number of different colors. And then they are going to write the color of their candy, and they're going to write their response. Now that response is based on this chart here on page, and you'll notice that page 3 of the apple and orange versions are slightly different. The apple version does not have these sentence frames, but the orange does, right? So let's say, speaking of orange, let's say a student chose an orange Skittle. They would be responding to "this summer I enjoyed," right? Because that corresponds with orange, and then the other colors are here. The sentence frame is to support them, to support your newcomers and being able to share out in English. I'll talk a little bit more in more detail about the use of home language, of native language, in a moment. Okay, so I'm going to scroll back up here where students would then write their response based on the color they chose and that sentence frame. "This summer, I enjoyed spending time with my family," or what have you. So they'll write their response in here. Okay, so for directions for round 2, now that students have had a chance to reflect individually and work on their response individually, now they're going to share and talk to their classmates in a small group setting. All right, so here in this piece of the graphic organizer supports students in just writing the name of the classmate, writing that classmate's candy color, and then writing their group members' response here. Now, I mentioned before that there's room for the use of home language. There's room for the use of native language. And you'll see on that bonus resource that you got, the Scaffolding Moves for Science cheat sheet, that translanguaging, which is that flexible use of language, is another scaffolding move that you don't see here on the paper, but that could be happening while students are talking. So what I mean by that is if students are grouped with classmates who speak the same home language as much as possible, right? They really can be discussing all the directions. They can even be discussing their answers in their home language before sharing out and writing in English, right? So all of that use of home language is a step for students to be able to write out and share in English. And now while the goal in a predominantly English classroom is for students to write, produce, and share out in English, there is still room for students to discuss their ideas in their home language and really work through the assignment in their home language. It actually, research shows that it boosts their English language development. Okay, so we want students to understand that their home language is welcome. They're welcome to talk in there and speak in their home language. And they may be asked to produce, and they will be asked to produce in English in writing and speaking. So then after students have completed this round, you will see there are some reflection questions here for students to answer. And in this orange version, we have some simple sentence frames to help students get started. I learned, I think we did this activity because, and then, for the third one, the same idea. Okay, so as I mentioned before, here's the Science Candy Game color code. I highly suggest that this is blown up if your school has a poster maker. It could be a physical poster that you make, or you just project it onto your smartboard so that students can see it nice and big, but they also have access to it right at their desks. Now, this part is not for students. This part is for you as their science teacher. So this is just a quick note catcher on your observations as students are engaging in this game, right? So you'll write the student name here, and then you'll just do a quick informal assessment as you're circulating the room. How is the student speaking? Are they only using home language? Do they attempt to use some English? Do they use mostly English? Are they just not speaking at all, right? Same with reading, same with writing, and then jotting down some additional notes. So this is really for you as a teacher just to start collecting some preliminary data that you can use to talk to your ENL teacher or TESOL teacher or ESL teacher, that you could use to talk to your instructional coach, your administrator, and that you could also use to plan your instruction moving forward to make sure that it's accessible for your multilingual learners. You could also use this as you're looking through Lit Sciences resources and seeing, okay, which resource might be appropriate for this student based on where they are with their English language proficiency. Okay, and then finally, the Science Candy Game includes a lesson plan with learning objectives, language objectives, and standards, and descriptions of how to facilitate this lesson. Okay, thank you so much for downloading this resource. I look forward to chatting with you. I look forward to supporting you in supporting your English language learners in accessible grade level science. Thank you for all you do, and I'll see you soon.